Let's take some ordinary vintage postcards and turn them into some little pieces of art. Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Welcome to my channel Junk Journal Art. Thank you very much for joining me today. I think we all love using old postcards and photos for our junk journal projects. I really enjoy using those original things, especially when they are really vintage and really old. I like to think about the story behind those pictures, and especially when I have postcards that are a little bit artsy, like this one here, for example, I really enjoy using them in my projects. But sometimes it feels some kind of boring to use them as they are. So yeah, it feels like it is an original piece and I can just put it into a pocket, but when I did it, I think, okay, so yeah, it is a postcard. We all know this old hand lettering. That's really awesome, of course, and it's really cool to have such an original piece from the past. But sometimes I think there must be something else that we can do with those things to make them a little bit more a piece of art. Some kind of thing that is me and that represents my style, my art, my emotions and that stuff. So I thought about something, how you can jazz up your vintage photos and postcards with some collage fodder. I have some collage fodder here, so I will take some out so that you can see it better. I have made some beautiful pieces of paper, and I want to use those to make something special to those cards here. If you don't have such postcards, you can also, of course, print out a printable. I have a postcard printable in my Etsy shop. I will link that down below for you so that you can use that printable if you don't have original postcards. But of course, you can also find them on flea markets or online, on eBay or somewhere else. Okay, so I think we are going to start with this one here. So I have tried to find some postcards or photos where much space around the focal point is. I mean, here's sorry, here's the sky, here's a little building, and this writing here. Perhaps we can also get rid of that if we don't like that. Here it's the same. There's this big window, and the focal point, those people, are relatively small compared to the whole size of the card. Here, for example, there's much sky as well, and here are these little trees that have a relatively big space compared to the whole card as well. So if you want to try this out, what I'm showing you today, please choose those cards that have a little bit of space around that you can use. So let's start with this one. So the first thing that we will need is something where we can cut. Yes, we will cut the card. I took this thing that's only the plate of my die cut machine, and it's already really destroyed, as you can see, and you can use this really good for cutting with a really sharp knife. The next thing that you will need is some pieces of cardstock in different shapes. So I have decided that I want to use rectangles for this project, but of course you could also use some other shapes, triangles, circles, or whatever. So I have these here, and I have cut those out with my paper trimmer in different sizes, as you can see. And now I would like to cut some of these shapes out of the card. So let's try, for example, this one here, and I will try to find a place where this makes sense. So this is a little bit big for this area here. This would work. Okay, so now when I think that could be a good place, I put that here, press that down, and then I will take my knife and I will just cut around, carefully of course, around this shape, so that I get a hole into the card. That's exactly this measurements. And making such kind of template is really helpful, because then you get, yeah, some kind of straight lines. Of course, it doesn't have to be straight, and it's sometimes also not possible to cut so very straight. It's a junk journal that we want to put those cards in, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So now we have this, and as you can see, it's not that perfect, but that's not the problem. So let's take another of these templates, perhaps this longer one. I'm not sure how I want to have that here. Of course, if you realize that this is perhaps a little bit too big, this template that you've made, you can also take your paper trimmer or some scissors, and that's what I want to do now, and cut that a little bit smaller so that you can get a better imagination of what you want to do. Because I think would look great if this is here underneath his, you know, so that it looks like he is sitting on this hole. I mean, it will not stay a hole, but you will see that in a second. Give me a second to cut that out. And of course, you don't have to throw away these little things, because as you can see on the back side here, you have a really cool lettering, so that you can use this as collage fodder as well. So it will go into my little box of scraps. So shall we put this here, that it is really massive and big? Is that too big? What do you think? Perhaps we can also cut that a little bit smaller. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay, so let's cut that out as well. And I'm trying to line that up relatively parallel to the frame of the card. Okay. Another piece of really cool collage fodder as well. And now when we have that, we can put our templates away and save them for later. And then we can take our pieces of collage fodder and choose some of our scraps that we want to put behind here. And that is the idea of today, to cover that up with some interesting papers and bring something behind those little, yeah, let's call it windows or something like that. And I also want to have something here that's a collage for itself. So first of all, I'm trying to get an imagination which colors I want to have. Of course, in my stash of collage fodder, I have different colors. So I'm trying to find something that matches really well. So I think this purple and this brown looks really cute together. I think I really like that. This is interesting as well, but it's a little bit big. So let's just tear that and put this perhaps here. Like this. And I think it needs a third purple area here. So what about this thing? That looks some kind of strange because it's a little bit different purple than the other one. That's really massive. Let's see, what else do we have here? Here we have this little thing with these little flowers. Perhaps we can get them into that frame, or we can perhaps also change these both and, come on, put this little thing here. Then we would have this here. And let's just tear that there. And then find something perhaps brown here. I mean, now we have purple here, here, and here, and I think that looks not so bad. So we can use this thing for here. Okay, why not? I think I like that, but I want to have something else here. Perhaps something that's a little bit more neutral and gives us a little contrast or something like that. Yeah, that's great. I like this packaging paper in this frame, so perhaps we can put another one here. Yep, and I think we need a third one here. So let's take this little piece. So, and I'm pressing that down so that I can't move that too much. It's a little bit tricky, but it works. So, for example, like this, I think I already like that. As you can see, it don't need so much to make that look a little bit interesting. But when I look from far away, I'm a little bit confused about this really white area here. Or yeah, perhaps we can we put another piece of this packaging paper here, for example? I think that looks great. Now those tulips seem to grow out of this little hill here. Okay, when we are happy with that, we can take a glue. I would suggest to take a liquid glue so that you don't have to move this too much now. So I will just carefully lift the card up, and then I'm trying to get my glue here and there. I should open it, otherwise there will come out nothing, Louise. Oh my goodness, I have to open it with one hand now. Okay, I have it. I will put some glue here and there to glue these things together so that this whole thing can't move anymore. I will not glue that completely because I will take that to my sewing machine and sew around those windows later. If you want to only glue that and don't sew around, then of course you have to use more glue than I'm using here. You have to glue that a little bit more exactly, of course. But I think it's a great addition to sew. So if you have a sewing machine, please try that out. I think that's cool. Okay, let's just put some glue here. And if you use liquid glue, then of course you can always move the pieces around a little bit. That's really helpful if you want to change something while you are gluing it. That's then always possible. I mean, if you use a glue stick, then everything would probably be in the position where you have it, and then you can't move it so well. Okay, so a little bit here. And this frame here. Like this. Okay. Okay, when I have this, I will let this dry, and then I will bring that to my sewing machine and just sew around here, just around these little windows. I will be back in a second. Okay, so here I'm back. I've stitched around here now, and the good thing about junk journaling is if you make some mistakes with your sewing machine and it's not straight, it's not the problem, because you can say this is art. And I really like this imperfection of my sewing. I have to say that to myself every day, because otherwise it would drive me crazy. Okay, so when we have that, we can just cut those little overlapping pieces. The bigger ones we can put to the collage fodder box, and the smaller ones we can, don't know, throw away. So now we have this, and I really like this optic already, and I think you could leave it like it is, but you know me. I can't be happy with this because I want to have something a bit special here. So I will use my very big Stabilo oil pen now and a water brush. You could also use an art crayon for that. Perhaps I will do that later when I realize that this isn't working. So let's see. I want to shade those little windows a little bit so that it looks like it's a little bit more three-dimensional. And I think when you use such vibrant colors on such a vintage card, especially when it has so much black, it makes a big difference to shade this. So I just go directly here to this little edge of the window. Then I take my water brush and just press out some water here directly to my hand. Oh, it's a little bit dirty, but that's not the problem because we want to shading here. And I'm just pressing that on top of my hand so that I don't have to be afraid that I get my water drops here directly to my piece. Don't want that, of course. So if too much water comes out of this brush, it's not the problem. And I also can get rid of too much black. If I want to have it a little bit lighter, then I can always get rid of this black, and I don't need to hold a tissue paper or something like that. Okay, so I think that's great. That will look a little bit different in a second when I will dry that. So let's do that here and on the other thing there as well. Okay, so now it looks like this, and I think I already really like that. What do you think about this? But I think we can still add some things that it makes this thing even more special. For example, some tiny little labels or some numbers or something like that. I mean, you could even use those things that you have cut out from the postcard. So this is this thing that came from here. You could also cut that down and use that as a little, collage element here. So I would like to try to take these little guys here. I think, oh, this is a little bit big, but this would fit here, perhaps. I would like to cover this rest of this writing here a little bit. Like this, for example, and perhaps we can also try to cut this a little bit smaller in the shape of this label, so that we don't have those rectangular shapes all over the card. That makes it perhaps a little bit more interesting. Like this, for example. Oh yeah. Okay, so I will do that with this one as well and just cut off the corners here. I think that's totally enough, and I want to leave this red frame here. I think that looks great, like this, for example. And then of course you can use some numbers. I think these are a little bit big. Those come from what? My goodness, I've just destroyed my little box here. Sorry. Those come from one of my own printables from my Etsy shop. I will link this item down below for you as well. These are called random numbers and phrases. So I think nature would not fit so well here. It's also a strange color for this card, but I think this brown number here would be a great thing. Let's see if that will work. Yeah, I think I like that. I think this looks a little bit strange, but what about putting this piece of the postcard, yeah, you know, this is the back side of the postcard, behind this. I think that would look great. So I will just place that here on top and eyeball that, cut that off here, so that we could also let this peek out a little bit, so that this little thing is looking out here. Do you like that? I'm not totally sure if I like that, but it would be a possibility. I'm not sure if this is a little bit too big. I'm just thinking of using something that's a little bit smaller. Ah, come off. So if we would cut this little thing a little bit smaller, yeah, I think that's better. So let's see, let's just cut that off. Put this here. Yeah, I think that's better. So I will just distress the edges of these little things here a little bit. I will use some distress ink or distress oxide ink for that in brown, perhaps vintage photo, I think, and I will just do that. I think you all know how distressing works, and then I will be back. Okay, so here we go. I've just distressed these little pieces and then I have glued them down, and I think some splatters would be a great addition to such a card. And first of all, I thought about some white splatters, because this would match the colors of the card really well. We have this white, or nearly white, in the dress of this woman. We have this sky that's nearly white. We could perhaps use some white gesso, mix that with some gray or some dirty paint water to get a gray tone of gesso. But I have made these scraps with distress oxide ink. So this purple and the other colors that you can see here come from my distress oxide ink. And I made the experience then that when you put gesso on top of distress oxide ink, it comes through. The gesso would take the color of the distress oxide ink. You can hardly see that here. Here's white gesso, really much white gesso, but it's purple because, yeah, the color came through, and I don't want to have that here. So I have decided to use some gold, because I think this golden watercolor will stay golden when I splatter it here to this card. So what I want to do, I want to cover those people up so that I don't splatter on top of them, and then I will try to get this really, you know, I have to test it out here, that I get really small splatters, only a tiny bit. And I think my mixture is a little bit, it has too much water. Arg. I will just add a little bit more of my watercolor to my mixture to get this a little bit more thick, because I want to have those little things there from the paint a little bit more raised in the end, so that you can also feel them. Another way to do those things would be to use acrylic paint and water that down. That would probably be the better idea. But I think now I have it. I think that's enough. Okay, so let's carefully take this off. Whoo! And then I will let this air dry and I will show you the result in the end. But I think this would look similar like this in the end, because this will not change very much. Of course, the drops will dry, but then this will be something like the end result. And of course, you could now think what to do with the back side. When I turn this around, you can see that I have a little collage on my back side as well. Yeah. That came with this technique, gluing those scraps to the back side of the card and to the back side of these little windows. You could, of course, leave that like it is. You could also put some white gesso on top, only a thin layer to let this show through, and then you could journal on the back side. Or if you don't like this, of course, you could also back this with some coffee dyed paper or some cardstock or something like that. If you want to turn such a card into a pocket, I would suggest to back that, because otherwise if you put something in or take something out, then you could have a problem with the sewing or with those scraps that could be not so sturdy. So if you want to make a pocket or a tuck spot, then just put something to the backside and this will be sturdy. Okay, so shall we try to make another one? I think I like this idea. So perhaps we could take one with some mountains. That would definitely be the bigger challenge than the one with the people. But let's see. Where are my templates now? Okay, so here we go. I think for this one, I like to put a bigger window here, perhaps a tiny one here, and this one here. Okay, so I think here I would like to go with some really neutral scraps, perhaps something that brings a little bit better weather to this card. For example, this thing. Oh, I really like that. And another thing, here we have this mountain, and perhaps we can collage the rest of the mountain that was here on this piece with another scrap, so that it looks like the image goes here through the window in a really abstract way. Perhaps that's possible. I want to have the blue in the sky of this thing, so I have to, I think, turn that around. But then it's really dark there on top. No, that's not the right position. I really like the colors, but perhaps this is not the right scrap. So let me search for something that has similar colors. Oh. I just got an idea. So I have just said I want to have neutral colors, but look at this. I have this thing, and do you know what this is? This comes from, and that's a really simple answer. This comes from a die cut that I had. I mean, this is the paper where I have cut out the die cut. And I have more of these things in my collage fodder box here. I just have to find them. I have these purple ones, but I also have some more blue, and I have to put that all to my table. Oh, you don't want to see that. And now I have to say something. I have to thank you now. So this is really crazy. When I started recording this video, I was really some kind of tired. I was also a little bit, let me say, disappointed about a person that I had contact with right before I started recording the video. And in this moment, I came to this idea to show that to you. And in the moment I have taken out this, I can feel that my mood has totally changed a second ago. And that's because of you. Because when, yeah, I wanted to do this, of course, I do that for you, and you are here with me, and it feels like you are here with me, and that's a really cool thing. In this second, I want to share that with you. So, yeah. I have to share that because it's really important. I think it's a really special thing to have this channel and to make videos for you, and then suddenly you are really here with me, and that's some kind of crazy, but at the same time so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with me. There was another one that looked way more like a hill. So this was this green one that I had before. Shall we use that perhaps? I mean, where do you have to go? Here? Can we perhaps layer that? So that this, I mean, this looks not so strange. That this goes here and another one there. Let me try that. So, forget the neutral colors. I can't do that with neutral colors. So first of all, I have to fix this little paper here somewhere to my card so that this can't move anymore. So I will put some glue here. Oh my gosh, I love you so much. You can't believe that. You can't imagine what's going on in my head at the moment. I could cry. I really could cry. Okay, so let's take this, and now I can put that here. And I think this looks really great. I will just glue that. Ooh! Oh my goodness. What am I doing? Louise. Concentration. I will just put some glue here because I think that I can perhaps use the rest of this thing for the second hill. Now I have to be fast because I want to put that behind there. So, scissors, come out. Just cut that here, and then perhaps we could, I have to try that from here. Yeah, that will work. We'll just cut this here and put that behind here. It's very blue, but I think that's... This way we couldn't see the layering so well, or this little... And the other way, the hill is a little bit big, I think, and a little bit very blue. That looks like a beach now. So it has to line up here with this one, I think. Ooh. Not so easy, but I think I have it. Okay. Can we cut this little thing? Can we perhaps... Yep, put that here. This is so tiny. Oh my goodness. I'm totally in love with this. I'm totally in love with this. Okay, so I will let that dry. I will go around with my sewing machine later. But now we have to fill these both things. Here we go. I'm so happy. Okay, so let's try to bring that to a next level. When you look to this card directly from the top, you can't see the layering of the hills so well. You can only see that when you look like this. And I'm a little bit afraid, but I want to try that out. I want to try to shade the hills a little bit, those mountains. Remember how the card is looking now. If I fail it, you have the memory of this card. If we want to have it matching to the other one, if that is possible, we have to put some labels or numbers or something like that here as well. But here the word nature would fit really well, but this is so big. It's really big. So of course I could print this out a little bit smaller. So since this comes from my printable, that would be no problem, but I don't want to run to my computer now and do that, because I don't want to destroy my flow, and I think that's great. That's one possibility. This would be another possibility, but I think I like it better here. Ha. Here we go. These are my two little postcards for today. I hope you like them. And if you want to imitate this, and if you perhaps get some inspiration from my videos, I would be really happy if you share your results on Instagram, for example, and if you would tag me with @LuiseHeinzel and use this hashtag JunkJournalArt mit Luise Heinzel. That means Junk Journal Art with Luise Heinzel in German. So I had to decide if I want to have that in German or in English. I would be really happy to see some of your results, and of course I'm hoping that you like this. And yeah, you can be sure that this day was a really special day, and this video was a really special video, even if these are only some postcards. But as I told you in the middle of the video, this was really special for me, some really special moments. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this and for the opportunity to do this YouTube thing here. And I want to thank you that everyone is here with me. That means the world to me. Thank you very much. See you the next time. Stay creative. Bye-bye.